Content warning. Tuskegee syphilis experiment. In the sweltering heat of Macon County, Alabama, back in 1932, the United States Public Health Service launched a sinister experiment under the guise of free medical care. Led initially by Dr. Taliaferro Clark and later by Dr. Raymond Vonderlehr, they recruited 600 impoverished African-American sharecroppers, including 399 who already had latent syphilis. These men, like farmer Herman Shaw, who became a vocal survivor, were promised treatment for what they called bad blood, but instead they were lied to and left untreated. Even after penicillin emerged as a cure in the 1940s, the doctors withheld it, watching as the disease tore through their bodies, causing heart failure, blindness, and madness. By the study's end in 1972, 28 men had died directly from syphilis, 100 from related complications, 40 wives were infected, and 19 children born with congenital syphilis. Peter Buxton, a young venereal disease investigator, blew the whistle in 1969, leading to a leaked story by journalist John Heller in 1972. This was not a mistake. It was a calculated experiment on human lives, eroding trust in medical institutions for generations and highlighting deep racial injustices in healthcare. Willowbrook hepatitis infections. Imagine the overcrowded halls of Willowbrook State School on Staten Island, New York, in the 1950s and 60s, where mentally disabled children lived in squalid conditions. From 1956 to 1972, Dr. Saul Krugman and his team at New York University deliberately infected newly admitted children with hepatitis virus to study the disease's progression and test vaccines. Parents were coerced into consent, often told it was necessary for admission, as children in the hepatitis ward were fed infected feces extracts or injected with the virus. Over 700 children were involved, suffering jaundice, liver damage, and long-term health issues, with some deaths linked to complications. The experiments were defended as inevitable since hepatitis spread rapidly in the institution, but critics called it exploitation of vulnerable kids. Details emerged publicly in the early 1970s through investigative reporting, sparking outrage and contributing to reforms in research ethics. No one faced prosecution, but Willowbrook closed in 1987 amid broader scandals of neglect, leaving survivors and families haunted by the deliberate infections and the ethical breaches that allowed such horrors to persist unchecked. Unit 731 atrocities. Deep in the frozen Manchurian plains of occupied China, starting in 1936, General Shiro Ishii commanded Unit 731, a sprawling complex near Harbin, disguised as a water purification plant. Until 1945, Ishii's team of 3,000 scientists conducted live dissections, frostbite trials in sub-zero temperatures, and plague bombings on over 3,000 prisoners, mostly Chinese civilians, Soviet POWs, and Koreans, whom they dehumanized as maruta or logs. Prisoners endured vivisections without anesthesia, their organs removed while alive, or were infected with anthrax and cholera in field tests that killed hundreds of thousands more, including entire villages bombed with plague fleas in 1940. After Japan's surrender, the United States granted Ishii and his men immunity in exchange for their data, burying evidence to gain an edge in the Cold War. Details emerged slowly, with Japan admitting the atrocities only in the 1990s through declassified documents and survivor testimonies. The cover-up allowed Ishii to live freely until his death in 1959, his horrors fueling nightmares of unchecked science and the moral compromises that nations make in the name of security. Thalidomide birth defects. In the bustling pharmacies of West Germany in 1957, Chemie Grünenthal introduced thalidomide under the name Contergan, marketing it as a miracle sedative for pregnant women suffering morning sickness. Developed by Heinrich Müchter, the drug spread to 46 countries by 1961, ignoring early red flags like nerve damage reports from Dr. Widukind Lenz in 1961. Over 10,000 babies were born with phocomelia, severely shortened limbs, flipper-like hands, and organ defects, including survivors like Nico von Glasow in Germany and Lorraine Mercer in the UK. Australian obstetrician William McBride's letter to The Lancet in 1961 exposed the link, leading to withdrawals, but Grunenthal fought back, suppressing studies and threatening critics. In the United States, FDA reviewer Francis Oldham Kelsey blocked approval, saving thousands. The scandal prompted the 1962 Kefauver-Harris Amendment for stricter drug testing. Families like the Cipollonis in Canada sued for decades, with the company finally settling in the 1970s. But the victims' lifelong struggles with disabilities continue, serving as a stark reminder of how corporate greed can prioritize profits over human safety. Nazi concentration experiments. Amid the barbed wire of Auschwitz in 1942, Dr. Josef Mengele, the angel of death, selected twins like Eva and Miriam Moses from incoming trains for his grotesque genetic studies, injecting dyes into eyes or sewing siblings together in pursuit of Aryan supremacy. From 1933 to 1945, across camps like Ravensbrück and Dachau, physicians like Karl Klauberg sterilized thousands of Jewish and Roma women with chemical injections, causing agonizing infections and death. High-altitude experiments by Sigmund Rascher locked prisoners in pressure chambers until their lungs burst, while freezing tests submerged victims in icy water for hours. Over 70,000 people, Jews, Poles, Soviet POWs, and disabled individuals were tortured, with many dying mid-experiment. The 1946 Nuremberg doctors' trial convicted 16, sentencing 7 to death, including Karl Brandt, Hitler's personal physician. Yet some data slipped into post-war medical texts. Survivors like Vera Kriegel, scarred by Mengele's needles, testified to the barbarity, ensuring the world remembered how medicine could be twisted into murder and revealing the depths of human depravity under the Nazi regime. Kiltra mind control. In the shadowy corridors of CIA headquarters in 1953, Director Alan Dulles greenlit Project MKUltra, run by chemist Sidney Gottlieb, to counter perceived Soviet brainwashing. Until 1973, over 149 sub-projects dosed unwitting subjects with LSD, mescaline, and electroshocks across 80 institutions. Victims included mental patients at Allen Memorial Institute in Montreal, under Dr. Ewan Cameron's psychic driving, where Velma Orlikov endured coma-inducing drugs and taped messages. CIA agent Frank Olson plunged to his death from a New York hotel in 1953 after being secretly dosed with LSD. Prisoners in Kentucky and California were given hallucinogens for weeks, leading to suicides and breakdowns. Gottlieb ordered most records destroyed in 1973, but Church Committee hearings in 1975, led by Senator Frank Church, exposed the program. No one faced charges, leaving families like Olson's to uncover truths through declassified files, haunted by the agency's relentless quest for mind control and the profound ethical voids exposed in Cold War espionage. Tobacco cancer conspiracy. As lung cancer rates soared in the 1950s, executives at Philip Morris and R.J. Reynolds knew the truth from internal studies like those by Dr. Ernst Winder in 1953, linking tar to tumors. Yet on January 4, 1954, they published a frank statement to cigarette smokers, denying harm and forming the Tobacco Industry Research Committee to fund biased science. Whistleblower Jeffrey Wigand, a Brown and Williamson VP, revealed in 1996 how companies added ammonia to boost nicotine addiction and hid polonium-210 radiation in smoke. Millions died, over 8 million annually today, from cancers and heart disease, including victims like Rose Cipollone, who sued after 40 years of smoking and died in 1984. The 1998 Master Settlement Agreement forced a $246 billion payout, and document releases proving conspiracy. The delay, fueled by ads targeting youth like Marlboro Man, cost countless lives, with executives like Helmut Wacom suppressing reports purely for profit, demonstrating one of the largest and longest corporate deceptions in history. UK infected blood scandal. In the bustling hospitals of 1970, National Health Service doctors transfused hemophiliacs like Barry Mann with imported factor VIII from the United States, pooled from high-risk donors including prisoners and drug users. Until the early 1990s, over 30,000 people were infected with HIV and hepatitis C, leading to 3,000 deaths, including children like Colin Smith, who died at 7 in 1990. Officials like Dr. Arthur Bloom knew risks by 1982 but continued imports, destroying records and downplaying dangers. Victims like Suresh Vaghela fought for decades with the infected blood inquiry, chaired by Sir Brian Langstaff, concluding in 2024 that it was avoidable and covered up. Compensation schemes began in 2024, but survivors like Lauren Palmer, who lost both parents, bear the grief. The scandal, rooted in negligence at Armour Pharmaceutical and government inaction, shattered families across Britain, exposing systemic failures in healthcare oversight and the devastating cost of bureaucratic indifference.